Hello, everybody. I'm Gary, and this is Physical Format Rock and Roll. Thank you so much for tuning in. I always appreciate that. Cheers to everybody in the vinyl community and everybody who tuned in by accident. So, my good buddy Steve from All the World's a Stage has declared this to be Canada Week. I don't know if you're aware of this, but I'm doing a weekly show with Steve from All the World's a Stage that we call Spin on This. We generally have a guest, not always, but the concept of it is we pick a couple albums. Each of us pick a couple albums for a guest. They pick between that, and then they pick the winner of each of those to go against each other. We try to make it kind of difficult, try to guess what that person likes. We've done it to each other. It's a lot of fun. And we usually ask a couple of questions to get to know the people, and it's just all in fun. It's kind of a throwback type thing where you could kind of joke around with people. It's not necessarily politically correct. Anyway, please check that out if you haven't. But like I said, this is Canada Week because our guest this week on that show was Brian, the embryonic robot. So to celebrate that, the whole week is Canada Week, and Steve's been having all kinds of great episodes about Canadian artists and whatnot, and some other people have around. I know Aaron and a bunch of other friends have done this. Half the vinyl community is from Canada, so, if Steve can find a way to suck up to those people, he's obviously going to do that. And so am I. So we'll talk about how great Canada is. As you can see by some of these artists behind me, Canada has a wealth of great bands, great music to come out of there. But to me, there's one album that stands above all of the others. Doesn't matter who it is, in my mind, this album that I'm going to show is my favorite album of all time from a Canadian artist, and that would be by Rush, A Farewell to Kings. This is their 5th studio album. This is from 1977. I was 12 years old when I bought this record. This is the first Rush record I ever bought. It wasn't the first one I'd ever heard. I had heard 2112. But this is, like I said, the first one I bought, and I fell in love with it. First off, I love that cover. I like the inside of it. I remember opening this up. I've looked at this picture so many times of the boys in the band there. It's got the lyrics, these fantastic lyrics that are in here, and I just remember hearing this record and thinking, I've never heard anything like this. Of course, I was just a kid. I mean, it's not like I'd been listening to rock music for that long. I mean, I heard all my life growing up on the radio and stuff. But at that time, I'd never heard any kind of really progressive rock. And this album just stands the test of time. It starts off with the title track, Farewell to Kings. And it starts off acoustically, which I found really odd at first. Has this acoustic guitar playing, which actually was recorded with Alex Lifeson walking around. That's recorded outside. He was walking around. They had a microphone with him. And then, of course, you have the little mini Moog synthesizer that was added to it. And then it just kicks in. It starts kicking more ass than Bruce Lee and Enter the Dragon. It is so fantastic. And the sound of this record, I remember the immediacy of it, and the layers that were added to it, the sounds. It's like I had never heard music sound like this before. Now, I realize a lot of people don't like early Rush because they're not into Geddy Lee's voice, and I can understand that. I'm that way with certain bands too. Me, I love it. I love this time period of Rush. This is great. Everything they did up to this point was fantastic in my mind. They're all fantastic records. But this one is special, maybe because it was my first one. But the song of Farewell to Kings, lyrically, it's basically kind of like the 2112 concept of, having authoritarian rule to an extent, but not quite as extreme. They're making comments on society as far as, where are all the leaders of the past, the intelligence? We need another Renaissance type era. All we have now are, politicians and religious leaders and teachers and stuff are just trying to take their anger and everything out on the youth. Where's the enlightenment? Is how I always took A Farewell to Kings, the song, to be. And then, of course, after that, it goes into the epic Xanadu, which Xanadu goes on with an instrumental part of it for probably, 5 minutes before the lyrics ever come in. And the song itself, written by Neil Peart, lyric-wise, Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson write all the music. Same way with A Farewell to Kings. But with Xanadu, that was also kind of loosely based around the poem Kubla Khan, right? So all those elements are thrown into that song. Side 2 is a little different, right? Because all of a sudden it has shorter songs on there. And it also has a song, Cinderella Man, where Geddy Lee wrote the lyrics to that song. So that was the only one that Neil Peart didn't write. Geddy Lee was still writing lyrics to some songs at this point. But you have Closer to the Heart and Madrigal, which are under 3 minutes long, okay? So those are very short. Then you have the song Cinderella Man, which is what, 4 minutes and 20 seconds, 4:20. So all great songs, all great shorter songs, love all of them. And then the album ends with the epic Cygnus X1. I can't tell you how much I love that song or how many times I'd listened to that growing up with my headphones on. You have the whole thing of, 6 stars of the sword, the Southern Cross, mourning for their sister's loss. In a final flash of glory, nevermore to grace the night. All these cool sound effects. And then when that bass comes in, but a really kind of a different sounding bass, so clear, powerful. And then all of a sudden, here comes Neil Peart. And then they add into it till finally they get this groove going. And then the guitar comes in. It's like, oh man, this is fantastic. And it just keeps building, goes on this epic voyage into a black hole, which gets continued onto the next album of Hemispheres. But Cygnus X1 is so epic. And Farewell to Kings and Xanadu are epic songs too. Just the way they mix all the instruments in. Neil Peart's epic drumming on here. I mean, everybody is just that. I remember being, because at that time it was, all Kiss and Aerosmith for me. And I remember hearing these guys playing and I'm like, wow, how in the world are they doing all of that? It was so incredible. I'd never listened to bands like Yes or anything at that time. So to hear Rush, which is, progressive rock, but done in a hard rock way, this stuff still kicks ass, was just fantastic. And I can put this album on right now and be just as excited about it as when I was 12 years old, because that's how good it is. And that is why A Farewell to Kings by Rush from 1977 was, is, and always will be the greatest Canadian album of all time. I'm Gary. This is Physical Format Rock and Roll. Thank you so much for being here. Till the next time, my friends, I will see you down the road.